Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today. It's all about leadership.
Leadership.
Yeah, and whether you're uh, managing a team or maybe you're even running a company.
Or leading yourself.
Or leading yourself, exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at a conversation that took place on YouTube.
Okay.
It's from a channel called The Collaborative Canvas.
Sounds interesting.
It is, and the host, Ankish, he was talking with Patricia Cai, who has like 15 years experience.
Wow.
And researching and coaching leaders. I think one of the things that really struck me right off the bat was how much emphasis they both put on how leadership is changing.
Yeah, the world is changing. So leadership has to change too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It used to be all about like technical skills.
Right. Like if you were a programmer or you an engineer.
Right.
But now it's like, can you work with people?
Yeah. Can you deal with all these curveballs coming at you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so it's really interesting to see how these like so-called soft skills are becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I was even reading an article the other day about how performance reviews are changing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not just your boss's opinion anymore.
Huh.
You're getting feedback from peers and even the people who work for you.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's really becoming much less top-down and much more about collaboration and relationships.
Okay, so we're kind of in this new landscape of leadership. What does that actually mean for someone who's trying to be more effective as a leader?
Well, one of the things that Patricia really hit hard on was the importance of values.
Values, okay.
Yeah, and not just company values, but personal values too. Like, what are your values?
It's interesting because you hear values thrown around a lot these days, but sometimes it feels like just a buzzword.
You can, yeah.
Why are values suddenly so crucial to leadership?
Well, think about it. Job hopping is so common now, right?
Yeah.
So both employees and companies are looking for that reason to stick around.
Like that glue that holds them together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
where shared values come in.
It's like a common ground.
Right.
Okay, I like that.
And Ankish had a great story about this.
Okay.
He talked about how he used to work for this company, and the CEO there, even during layoffs, would personally try to help people who were losing their jobs find new ones.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all about taking care of people, even when it was tough.
So he actually walked the walk.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words, right?
Right.
And that kind of values-driven leadership, it really makes a difference.
That's powerful. Now, this might sound a little bit odd, but both Ankish and Patricia talk about how experienced leaders can actually learn a lot from Gen Z.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, right?
And it does. It does.
But the younger generation, they just have a different way of looking at things.
Okay, so is this just about them being good with technology, or is there something deeper going on here?
It's definitely more than just tech skills,
Okay.
although those are important too. It's about being adaptable and open to new ways of doing things.
So like being willing to admit you don't have all the answers.
Exactly, and that can be hard for some leaders.
Yeah, because, you get to a certain point and you think you've got it all figured out.
Right, but the world keeps changing.
It does. So you have to be able to keep learning.
And you can learn from anyone, even your kids.
Oh, I love that. Ankish actually told this funny story about his Gen Z daughter having to show him how to use some new video conferencing platform.
That's great. It's a good reminder that we're all students in this digital age.
Exactly. Exactly.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We're picking up our conversation about leadership.
Yeah, and how it's evolving, in this digital age.
Right, and I think one of the things that Ankish and Patricia talked about that really stuck with me was this idea that leadership is a journey.
Oh, yeah. It's not like you just arrive at some destination.
Exactly. It's all about constant growth and evolution.
Yeah, Patricia actually said something like, leadership is less about arriving and more about becoming.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so true. You're never really done learning and growing as a leader.
And that includes being open to feedback, even the tough kind.
Oh, yeah. Nobody likes to hear criticism.
No, but it's how we learn and grow.
And it shows your team that it's okay to make mistakes,
Right, because they all make them.
as long as we learn from them.
Exactly. It's about creating that culture of psychological safety where people feel comfortable taking risks and trying new things.
Without being afraid to fail.
Right, because failure is just part of the process.
Okay, so speaking of empowering your team, Ankish and Patricia also talked about giving people the autonomy and resources they need to succeed.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into the trap of micromanaging.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're feeling stressed or under pressure.
But it really stifles creativity and innovation.
And it makes people feel like they're not trusted.
Right. When people feel empowered, they're more motivated, more engaged, and more productive.
They also take more ownership over their work.
Exactly.
which leads to better results.
Absolutely.
Patricia actually had some really practical tips for empowering your team.
Like what?
Things like setting clear expectations, providing regular feedback,
And celebrating successes.
even the small ones.
Yeah, that's so important. It's easy to forget to celebrate the wins.
But it makes a huge difference in morale and motivation.
It also helps to reinforce positive behavior.
Right, so you're kind of training your team to focus on what's working.
Exactly. You're creating a culture of appreciation and recognition.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about soft skills and values.
Right.
But what about the role of technology in leadership?
Technology.
Yeah, it's transforming every aspect of our lives.
Including the way we lead.
So how can leaders leverage technology to their advantage?
Well, first of all, they need to stay up to date on the latest advancements.
Right, because things are changing so quickly.
Exactly. And they need to be willing to experiment with new tools and platforms.
Even if it means asking for help from their kids.
Exactly. Ankesh had that funny story about his daughter showing him how to use a video conferencing platform,
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we can learn from anyone.
regardless of age or experience.
Right. So being humble and having a growth mindset is crucial in this digital age.
Absolutely.
But technology can also be a double-edged sword.
In what way?
Well, it's easy to get so caught up in emails, texts, and virtual meetings that we lose sight of the human element of leadership.
That's a good point. We can't forget about the importance of face-to-face interaction.
Even if it's just a quick video call, taking the time to connect with people on a personal level can make a world of difference.
It builds trust, strengthens relationships, and helps to create a sense of community.
Which is especially important in remote or hybrid work environments.
Right, because people can feel isolated and disconnected when they're not physically together.
So what are your thoughts on the role of social media in leadership?
Social media is a tricky one.
It can be a great tool for connecting with people and sharing your message.
But it can also be a distraction and a source of negativity.
So how can leaders use social media effectively without getting sucked into the vortex?
Well, I think it's important to be strategic and intentional about your use of social media.
Okay, so don't just post randomly.
Right. Have a plan and a purpose.
And be authentic.
Yes, people can spot a phony a mile away.
So it's more about sharing your genuine thoughts and ideas and building meaningful connections.
Exactly. Social media is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Okay, this conversation is making me think about my own approach to leadership and how I can use technology more effectively.
Me too. It's a constant learning process.
And it's about finding that balance between the digital and the human.
Right.
So before we wrap up this part, I want to touch on something else that Ankesh and Patricia discussed.
What's that?
The importance of diversity and inclusion in leadership.
Yes. Diversity and inclusion are essential for creating strong and innovative organizations.
It's not just about doing the right thing, it's also about driving better results.
Exactly. When you have a team of people from different backgrounds with different perspectives and experiences, you're able to see problems from all angles and come up with more creative and effective solutions.
It's like having a wider lens to view the world through.
Right. And it leads to better decision-making.
And a more inclusive culture.
Absolutely.
Patricia actually challenged leaders to be intentional about creating inclusive cultures.
Where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work.
It's about creating a sense of belonging where everyone feels like they have a seat at the table and their voice is heard.
That's so important.
And it's something that we need to keep working toward.
We do, because it's an ongoing journey.
Okay, so this deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
It's challenged me to think about leadership in new ways.
Me too.
And it's given me some concrete ideas to implement in my own life and work.
Yeah, it's not just about theory. It's about putting these ideas into practice.
Right. So what's resonating with you the most from this conversation?
I think what's really sticking with me is this idea that leadership is not about power or control.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
It's about service and empowerment. It's about inspiring others to be their best selves and working together to create something bigger than ourselves.
That's beautiful.
And it's about embracing change, being adaptable, and constantly learning and growing.
Those are all qualities that we can all cultivate, regardless of our position or title.
Exactly. Leadership is not just for CEOs and managers.
Right. It's for everyone.
This conversation has given me so much to think about.
Me too. And I'm feeling really energized to put these insights into practice.
Me too. And you know what? I think the power of these deep dives is that they challenge us to think differently
Yeah, to question our assumptions.
and to strive to be better versions of ourselves.
Right, because ultimately leadership is about making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about so much already, but we're not done yet.
You know, one thing that really stuck with me from that conversation with Ankesh and Patricia. Yeah.
Was how important it is to celebrate the wins,
The wins, yeah.
both big and small. It's easy to forget,
Yeah.
when you get caught up in the day-to-day,
Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that.
to just focus on what's next, what's the problem.
Yeah, put out the fires.
Yeah, but taking a moment to celebrate those victories,
Yeah,
it can make a huge difference
for the team.
for everyone, for morale, for motivation.
It's like hitting that refresh button.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
how do you do that as a leader? How do you celebrate wins without it being like
Yeah,
forced or
cheesy.
cheesy?
Yeah. Well, Patricia had some good advice, I think. It doesn't have to be anything big,
Right.
It could be a quick shout out during a team meeting,
Okay.
or a handwritten thank you note,
Oh, I like that.
or just taking a minute to personally tell someone, hey, you did a great job on that.
It's the thought that counts.
It really is, yeah. It shows that you're paying attention,
Yeah.
that you value their work. And, it ties back to what we've been talking about, that
Relationship.
building those relationships.
Building strong relationships, yeah.
When people feel appreciated, they're more engaged, they're more committed.
Right. Well, this has been fantastic. I feel like we've covered so much.
We have. From the changing nature of leadership to the role of technology to diversity and inclusion.
I'm walking away with a lot of things to think about.
Me too. Me too. But I think the main thing for me is remembering that leadership in this digital age, it's not about fitting into some mold.
Right.
It's about constantly evolving and learning
Yeah.
and adapting, because the world is not slowing down.
It's not. It's not. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with?
We talk about leadership a lot,
Mm,
and people might think, well, I'm not a CEO. I don't manage a team.
right.
But leadership isn't about titles.
Okay.
It's a mindset.
It's something we can all do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to the listeners is, what can you do differently this week based on what we've talked about?
Ooh, I like that. To be more of a leader in your own life, in your work, whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, to step up.
Yeah.
That's a great challenge.
And if you're looking for more of these great conversations, with people like Patricia,
Yeah.
definitely check out the Collaborative Canvas.
Yeah, the collaborative canvas.
It's on YouTube and Spotify. Ankish has so many interesting guests. They talk about all kinds of things related to leadership, personal growth.
It's a great resource.
It is. It is.
Well, it's been so fun diving into all this with you.
Yeah, this is great.
To our listeners, thanks for joining us for The Deep Dive. Keep learning, keep growing, keep leading. We'll see you next time.